Hey guys, right here. I played another Russia game yesterday with Vengeance. Different board, different strategy, everything. Um, and I recorded talking through it again, but I realized I had changed my settings in a certain way, um, making the video hard to upload onto YouTube. Anyway, long story short, I actually found out that my mic settings were still wrong the past couple videos, and I'm now using the correct microphone. I have multiple microphones on my computer that were picking up my voice, but hopefully my voice sounds better throughout this one. And it should be much more clear compared to the other mic, which is actually not good. Um, so yeah, Russia 6, once again, Vengeance, Board H. Board H is actually a pretty good Russia board. Um, let's jump into it. Not the best board for Vengeance, but a good board for Russia in general for most spirits. This board does have some nuances in terms of having three dump land possibilities. We can go into 8, 7, or 4. And there's a lot of adjacencies to push explorers around, really enabling the not skip strategy, but control the explorers, ping explorers around the board, given the correct drafts. Do have to be careful though. Land 3 is very dangerous into this board, as well as Land 8 a little bit. It's hard for Vengeance to constantly maintain like presence and priority onto Land 8. But Land 3 is kind of like a chokehold because there's nowhere for things to get pushed out of in a good way. So we get the Wetlands Explorer first. And obviously we have to see our first draft to decide what we're going to do. Really interesting set of cards here. Um, Delusions, is the immediate turn one payoff of pushing that Explorer um, out of that land. It delays the Fetid Breath play, so if we get years on turn 2, we're a little bit screwed because we have to forget it from hand and we don't get to play, or we'll forget it from play because we're likely wanting to play Fetid um, by turn 2 to get that disease out. We really always want to get that one extra disease out pretty early. But it does allow us to be used on occasion throughout the game to push these explorers in one-off lands. It does lose a little bit of value because it's only one explorer. So the stage 2, stage 3 pattern is going to be very problematic with back-to-backs of having to utilize it. And generally, we don't want to use this card back-to-back. We want to use it once, play a different card handset, then use it again on another turn to help us solve things. So this card only ends up getting that extra being value, positive value, if we don't have to keep playing it back to back. Otherwise, it has like an attached, 2.5 energy cost. Imagine that. The other thing is, it doesn't deal with escalations. Beasts escalate, Russia escalation, sorry, add 2 explorers to lands with beasts, and it only pushes 1. Yeah, so it's not, great in that way. The only other positive note about it is a trifecta of event mitigation: missionaries, new species, rising interest. This guy's Herald is pretty interesting because it's on element. Also has 3 event forgets, the missionaries, new species, and lesser spirits. Leverage, and it can restore presence that we are losing by placing it into blighted lands, giving us a lot more targeting power, some interesting Daha manipulation power if we end up getting some defense later on, um, or just utilizing it to sacrifice lands in the counterattack can be useful. And then it allows us to have blight manipulation, which is really, really helpful. More than expected into this matchup. So it supports the strategy very well, but it doesn't help, with mitigation of Russia's strong points. So they need some like follow up and other points. So if I had to guess, Delusions would probably be a 3 to 4 blight per player game. Potentially being 2 if the back to backs don't actually overlap each other and you get positive econ value out of it. Sky's Herald ends up being um, pretty neutral in terms of value, especially because we're not cascading on its critical moments to be used, and you get a little bit of benefit for it, more disease on board for better control of the board, and on element for essentially epidemics usage. Um, my guess is Sky's Herald still leads to kind of like a 3 byte per player game. Um, on average. And Savage Maulbeast is the last one to mention here. It is dual elements. People love that. And it requires a Sacred Site setup, which can be a little bit tricky into this matchup. You really want your presence spread out and as much places as you can be for potential draft hits, zeros, etc. So committing that is a actual negative, although it's a minor one. But it does enable some really good features. So it can be in jungles and wetlands. It can be up to 3 damage, which is city kills in blighted lands for vengeance. And we did get the wetlands explore first, so that does kind of synergize with having blighted lands there to control it. It also enables 1 damage in non-jungle and wetland lands without blight, and 2 damage in non-jungle wetland lands with blight. So this, because the board is board H, because of our current setup and because of the particular explorer, I think Savage Maulbeast is the strategy that I want to go with this game. That's what I thought when creating the video, because it helps me deal with land 3 if it comes up. If I play it predictively, and or land 4 in the future when I'm looping it, not so much early for prediction. And it also helps me kind of deal with land 4, which is blighted already, and land 7, if I want to call that and reduce the explorer count by 3, and land 6, which is blighting. And then I can place my Sacred Site in 5 to get, a little bit of priority for Savage Maulbeast usage on 3 and 4 to protect those beasts. Or I can place a Sacred Site into land 6 and then have all the jungles and wetlands be targetable for Savage Maulbeasts. But I think the biggest priority is hitting the danger lands and hitting just the immediate blighted lands. So that means 5, 6, 7, 4, and 3, all great targets for Savage Maulbeast, meaning 5 is going to be our Sacred Site placement for taking that card. Let's speed this up. Me just choosing the powers. And we are going to Fetid into land 3 here. Mountains ends up coming up. My strategy and thoughts on fetiding land 3 is we can Plague Bears next turn, move the Town and Explorer out of land 3. Since a stage 1 is coming up, it will be jungles or sands, and we will move the disease and those invaders into land 4 and potentially make 4 our dump land because of that. So my thought is I need to maintain presence in land 6 for this presence placement. We're going to be blighting essentially 6 and 7, and I need to maintain presence in 6 in order to have range on 1 and 8 for anything that comes up in the future, at least R1. So I'm gonna be, and then it also helps me control that land as well by having the presence in there, because I can use Epidemics or Savage Revenge in that land. And then 5 is going to be the land we maintain our Sacred Side in for Savage Maul Beasts. So yeah, me probably just discussing like doing the Plague Bearers play like I just explained. Set up our skip land here. Pretty good because it means we'll mitigate things, and then we would be able to rush a 6 into there as well on that Ravage, and then just take one more Blight or Solve for the next land that comes up, which we would be able to have our skip by once again. So if it's Sands, it's a little bit easy to deal with. And, if it's Jungles, we have Fiery Vengeance, Savage Maul Beast, and some other stuff. And we also get another draft for that one. So that's usually, you can see now it would essentially be 3 Blight because I'm taking the 2 early here, and then I'm taking 1 more on this third Stage 1 Ravage. Let's jump ahead. So we get Fortificate, Strange Tales, so that's going to put something in 5, which is hilarious. But we get Beast Damage, which is kind of funny because it takes care of the mountains problem and makes it not my dump anymore. Kind of makes 7 become the dump. So decide to push the Explorers into 6 and 7. This is because 5 can come up next turn. A little bit dumb move. I should have just pushed it back into 6. Because at this point I actually forgot about the Strange Tales adding the extra one, so kind of lucky that Sands came up, but I should have been remembering that Strange Tales was a thing. So if Jungles came up and Strange Tales came up, I only wanted to maintain 2 in here so that I could just Fiery Vengeance and solve that. So that was a little bit of a misplay. Yeah, and then we're going to put, but because it didn't come up as well, we can move these explorers from 3 out to 5. I also think I have my skip back for the Sands Explore. I moved my disease out of 3. Thinking that I will probably get some drafts soon to be able to deal with it, rather than hitting it with epidemics. Placement here is interesting. I kind of want to maintain that extra sacred site, although I think it's kind of problematic in the end. I just think I made it because I'm utilizing Savage Maul Beast so heavily into my strategy, or incorporating it into so much future plans in my strategy, that I need to be able to hit 1 and 8 with Savage Maulbeast. So I think I placed there, and then I also wanted to place into 7. Maintaining a presence in 7 will be good, especially if we get Aquifers or some draft comes up. I want to be able to maintain 1 into 2 as well because of Savage Revenge, but... And I think, actually, if Sens keeps coming up back-to-back and everything, I might need another a Blight in there to let it go in order to control it with Plague Bearers in the future. So, like, I would be able to kill the city in there and then control it out with Plague Bearers. Meanwhile, I'm just skipping 7 to infinity, and Savage Maulbeast already does 3 damage into 7. So it's like, do I need to really be in there? I really want to be in there, but I have to split my presence if I'm making these sacred sites, and it's a little bit uncomfortable in that way. Yeah, so Fiery Vengeance, good at this point because we're reducing the Explorer count by 1. And honestly, I think I just strike low 7 here because I'm going to be controlling into it. Kind of a waste to play it, but it gives me tier 2 of Savage Revenge this turn, so not so wasteful, honestly. 2 energy Savage Revenge, though. Feels a little bit bad. Because I could have saved the energy and then banked it for something, but then I would only get tier 1 Savage Revenge. I think the tier 3 Savage Revenge for 4 damage is really nice, especially if Jungle shows up here or if Wetland shows up here. I set it up really nicely to deal with either one of those if they show. Yeah, we get Life's Balance, which gives me a beast interaction to add 1 onto land 7, which is now my dump. Which is really funny because it's like perfect timing, just in time for the escalation. Of course, we generated too much fear, so we get the problematic build immediately into the jungles. Thankfully, 1 is clear. Extra HP buildings due to Life's Balance is also really fun to deal with. Even though I get the beast, it creates a little bit of trouble. I'm thinking now I definitely have to take a Blight. It may be a 4 Blight game, just immediately, in order to deal with some of this stuff. I have 2 fear cards to help, though. I think we get Terror 2 here. And I was supposed to play Fiery Vengeance on land 5. But instead, I didn't need the Epidemics, but I took a risk a little bit in that it could potentially solve something. So this is terrible. Search for new lands. Pushes things into lands I really don't want them to be in. Thankfully, we have that Strife on that guy. Usually strifing Explorers is sometimes a really good priority. Priority, in the sense of if there is an immediate Explorer threat, we would strife those guys instead of, like, cities. So if there isn't an obvious city strifing play into Russia here, I usually throw it on the Explorer. It's really nice in lands with the Hami to get defend 1, so... Me just figuring out how to resolve the beast nonsense as best as I can. We get a good hit and defend all lands for 2 energy. Only Terra 1, but still really good hit. And then push 2 explorers from an inland land. Which means I should have actually counted on killing, like, the towns instead of the explorers in those lands. So there's a 3rd city. Usually we get like 3 city lands into this matchup due to randomness. Mountain Wetland. Sands comes up, and I took the Blight here. Give me that extra, so this is our 3rd Blight, but it does give me that extra disease with Plague Bearers to control out of that land. So it was a little bit risky of a play, essentially leaving 5 there, and not utilizing Plague Bearers on that. But I think it was kind of like the only option. Otherwise it would be too overwhelming to deal with, based on my cards and everything. Yeah, and I could just destroy everything in 6 there. Reclaim. We're gonna just do Epidemics again. Taking Bog for some potential defense isolation could be helpful. I need to strike below 7. I want to control out of 4, so that's kind of like not a problem. And I think I'm planning to let 4 go into a 4 Blight game actually, because it got a little bit tricky with a lot of things going on. So my thought is just potentially I could take another Blight there. Get to add another beast. Kind of funny. Honestly, I put it there because I have Swarming Wasps, so it helps me control land 1 as well, with the Wasps, instead of having to rely on Savage Maw Beasts there. So I just put it on a city here. I don't really need it on the Explorers anymore. That Strife. There's no like obvious priorities or anything, even with pushing them. Maybe it might have been good to put one on the Explorer in 5, but I don't think we could target that land. It had to be Beast, Disease, or Dawn, so maybe another Explorer into there would have been good for another push, but I already have like 1 to control out of there and push it somewhere if I really needed to. Let's keep going. So we get enough fear here with all of our actions that we get the bomb, and it's the quad bomb. So, literally on top of the coastal Explorer, which I tried to make sure it was clean. That's a really fun thing to deal with. So we're going to have to rely on Terra 2 Fear cards in the event to kind of bail us out of this one as well. And I had to deal with this jungle on top of all of that. 4 damage from the Savage Revenge and from the Savage Maw Beast though. Pretty good. Reduces that big issue down to 2 towns. Still planning to take a Blight here on this mountains. Oh, fortunately, so we do have enough energy here that we've managed to stockpile by playing 2 0-0s over time. So this is the power of zeros instead of playing 2-1-0. So every turn we play a 2-0-0, we get +1 energy stockpiled. This on to this turn now allows us to have 6 energy stored up. You know, our natural energy gain of the 3 plus the 3 over times. So I never had to do 2-on-1. So this we get to draft here, and we could have cleaned up a lot of stuff with it. Even just using let's go back. Pillar of Living Flame or Jaw towards a Consuming Void in a future turn. I think Pillar would also be doable. But hitting like a 4 cost or lower is definitely really great. So we get spiders here. I'm thinking about what's gonna do what. And honestly, Bog is great. So I kind of want to keep Bog, and then it basically is between Bog and Fiery Vengeance. I want to keep Bog. I want to keep Fiery Vengeance. Um, Bog would be really helpful, especially because it's still on like future turns, and I still have that Sacred Site. But Fiery Vengeance does ultimately have the Sun, and I think Missionaries is more deadly than that Moon event. New Species, which just adds a town. So Missionaries would be problematic here. I don't want to get Missionaries. So I'm thinking Spiders has the most value in 7, but then quickly remember that I can't target anything but 7 with Strike Low. So, having to play these is in order to hit the Spider's threshold. Strike Low, Venomous Spiders, plus one more animal will threshold it because we don't have the top animal just yet. But I'm thinking I can do everything I possibly can into this matchup. I think pushing the Explorer into 3, I think it can solve itself. And even if Mountains Ravages, it's just like 2 more Blight Taken. I got a really high BPP card, so it's totally fine. I take care of 2 other threats that, a little bit more threatening. And then also these 2 big threats. So really, we're just hoping for things to weigh out with these Fear cards. Presence Destruction. I destroy in 6 here, but then I think it might be good to destroy in 5 because I don't really have Bog anymore. It's fine. And the disease in there allows me to play off of 3 potential Fear cards to get it. Extra 2 defense and Demoralize is really, really good. So it's defend 4 in all lands, which actually, as long as they have the Han. The Ravage skip, really nice. Unfortunately, the Dahan are separated. We could take a Cascade here. Fortunately, we get Dahan. Encroaches. So we get to split the defend into all these lands, which is really, really great. Everything gets saved, playing that out pretty well in terms of the event. Worst case scenario is just... worst case, I honestly could have just skipped the 5 and just taken the two Blight over here, but I did it this way and then cascaded because I think like, oh, maybe I can kill all the cities or something and get some like extra value this way by playing it a little bit risky. The worst case is always just the 2 Blight in the end. But this way, 3 Fear cards is pretty strong. 3 Terror 2 Fear cards nonetheless, really, really strong. And Mountains comes up back to back again from the quad into an Explorer. So I get to clear it with Spiders, leaving us with only a couple more Fear cards to go through in order to just end this outright. So here's another fun draft. I mean, could get on elements and solve things, but honestly, we're just trying to push Fear here to close out the rest of the game. So I take Dark Entangled Woods because it's going to defend that land 3 for us and clear that. Then I can play Swarming Wasps to just control the Explorer one more turn and strike low because I don't have really a good amount of energy to skip 7. Now, if I didn't need if I needed much more Fear, I would have had to take a 0 here. in order to play it, Call to Isolation, in order to get this guy out instead of Dark Entanglewood, so it allows me to play a 2/0/0. Econ's always an important factor here, and if I play a 2/0/0, it allows me to play spiders next turn and then clear out 7 a lot more by growing and playing spiders, because I'm going to be 1 energy short by playing a 2/0/1 at 0 energy. But yeah, 2/0/0 would get me the 1, 2, 3, and then I could get enough energy from G3 or just double growing top. I don't isolate that one because I want to get the fear from it. Should have honestly not removed this guy so I can hit it with Fiery Vengeance next turn for extra fear. Yeah, 1 energy short of playing spiders plus 2 zeros. Because I could have had just 3 fear from it and 7. I think I have to reclaim. Because now I need to get back... I don't have enough energy to play spiders in order to get the most amount of fear possible. So I have to reclaim in order to get my other fear cards back and just play Dark Entangled again, Fiery Vengeance, and... that's it. And I think Strike Low. And that gets me enough fear. 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I only need 4. And there's the Aquifers. Take it for my love of it into this Vengeance Russia matchup. But this is going to be the Fear Victory. So hopefully this one was also kind of interesting. There was a little bit of, smart gambling on turns where we had a lot of fear buildup in terms of fear cards and fear hits. Kind of a little bit of some misplays, so this could have taken at least 1 to 2 more blight. We had a high blight per player card, but I don't think it was anything risky that would have threatened like losing the game. It just would have been a little bit higher blight. Granted, some of the fear hits weren't as potent or something, but you could say the explorers were quite unlucky this game. Always threatening kind of the highest priority lands. In tandem with like bad timing on the bombs, so not so great there, but still pretty solid play, leading to a more risky game where you have to think about what more can you get out of events and fear cards rather than just what the spirit is capable of. Thanks for watching. Peace.